Coming up next on Parents Corner, an interview with Stacy Korbelak, President of the Arundel County Board of Education. Welcome, Stacy, to Parents Corner. I'd like to introduce you to our audience as Stacy Korbelak, President of the Anne Arundel County Board of Education. Thanks for coming on.
It's good to be here.
So tell me a little bit about how you got involved in being on the Board of Education. Where'd you get your start in education?
Well, I guess I've kind of been an educator my whole life. When I was out of school after my graduate degree, I was asked to teach adjunct courses for Johns Hopkins and Towson University here in Maryland, and I loved it. I was working in human resources at the time, and then I moved away to Michigan for a little bit, taught up there at night. And then
always post-secondary?
Always post-secondary. And then I came back to Maryland in 1996. My children were young, and I got involved in Piney Orchard Elementary School's PTA. And then they moved to Arundel Middle School, so I joined the PTA there. And later, Arundel High School had their signature program advisory team, so I got involved with them. And the school board kind of was the next step.
And so we're going through the nominating process.
Yes, we are.
For 2 potential board seats, at large and 33. And I understand there are nearly 3 dozen applicants that came forward.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about that process.
I always call it the panel interview on steroids. That's the way I would describe it when I went through it. So for folks that haven't watched the process before, you apply for the position like you would apply for a job. You turn in a resume and you answer some questions online. And then you come before this panel of 13 people who have been appointed by the governor, and you get interviewed in front of everybody on camera. I think each interviewer gets about 3 questions, so you've got 33 or more questions being asked of you. And it's televised, and the people that you're competing for the job with are right there in the room answering the same questions. If you survive that part of it, then you go on to the governor's staff. You get interviewed, at least I got interviewed by the appointment secretary and the education policy advisor for the governor. And then they make a recommendation to the governor on who to appoint.
So tell me a little bit about the day-to-day job of being a Board of Education member. I know a lot of people think that it's just you show up at the meetings every other week and you're finished.
Right.
I don't think it's like that.
No, it's not.
Tell me a little bit about the purview and the scope of the job.
I guess for me, my day starts when I wake up in the morning. Our public information office sends us a list of news clips to read every morning, and they come in about 5:30 in the morning. So whenever I get up, I go through the news clip list. Depending on the day, we might have to go out and visit schools or attend a community event or speak at like a chamber event, something like that. We have our meetings, of course, twice a month typically. We have to prepare for those meetings. We get our packet of information and readings the Thursday before our Wednesday board meeting. I meet with the superintendent once a week just to find out, keep my pulse on what's going on. And sometimes I'm meeting with our unions and staff and other board members. So,
how many hours a week would you say it is? Typically?
As president, I would say it's nearly a full-time job.
Mm-hmm.
When I was just a board member, probably about 20 hours a week.
Wow, that's a significant year-round.
Year-round, it's a little less in the summer because schools are closed. We don't have as many emails coming in from parents and events to attend, but definitely a year-round job.
So now you're in the heat of budget season.
Mm-hmm.
You got the Dr. Arlotto's budget back in December?
Right.
And so what's the process for you now as you work through what the spending priorities are for the county?
So we've finished our workshops with the staff here and the public hearings where the public was allowed to come and tell us what kinds of things they were concerned about or what maybe was missing from the budget. We've received a lot of emails from our staff and parents as well. So now the board has most of the month of February till our last February board meeting to make any kinds of amendments we would make at the board, vote on those, I guess, February 18th. And then the budget would go on to the county executive the first part of March.
First part of March.
Mm-hmm.
So by the end of this month, the budget will be off your desk,
Yes.
out of the Board of Education and central office here. And what happens next at the county level?
So then the county executive will review our request, and then he will make his recommendation to the county council. And that happens, I think he has until May 1st to do that.
And the budget kicks in July 1st for the
Correct.
next fiscal year. So it's not a very, do parents have any opportunities from now moving forward with either the board or the county executive or the county council to continue pushing for what they want?
Absolutely. So I would say to parents to come maybe to the February 18th board meeting before we vote on the budget and finalize it. That would be their last chance really to get us to change something and talk to us about their concerns. Then once it goes to the county executive in the past hasn't typically had public forums. I don't know if Mr. Hsu will be different. I haven't heard any dates yet, but it's a possibility.
Okay.
Otherwise, it would go to the county council in May, and at some point before they have to finalize the budget in the middle of June, they will have opportunities for the public to come during their Monday night meetings. Yeah. And I would definitely suggest that folks do that.
So what are you hearing most from parents that they want to see in the budget? What are the most common complaints or requests?
Well, right now for the capital budget, I think the most popular request is a 13th high school, and to help something to do with the overcrowding in Annapolis in the elementary schools like Tyler Heights with their 13 portables, trying to get relief before we'll probably have a building. In the operating side, it's more about increasing like our bilingual facilitators, school psychologists, counselors, sort of the support system. Of course, we always want to see more teachers to reduce class sizes, but I think the biggest outcry this time was more about the support.
So aides in classrooms and things like that.
Yes.
And were you able to fulfill any of these things with the budget that Dr. Arlotto? Were those pretty much already in there, or do you get to move things around?
There were requests for some new staff and new facilitators, yes. We haven't decided if we're going to try to add more or at least request more.
Yeah. And are you capped at a certain amount of money that Dr. Arlotto, once he passes it to you, that you can spend, or can you request more in what you send?
We could request anything.
You can request anything.
The county can and should say no. We can't. We don't have a money tree, so.
So when parents come to testify before the Board of Education, do you have any advice on how best to advocate for their schools? What do you typically like to see in somebody who comes before you and speaks?
I think we like to see data and facts to back up. Certainly the emotional request is valid, but it helps when they have data and facts to back it up. I know some parents have come and suggested maybe, here's the ratio, the standard ratio or recommended ratio for students per counselor, things like that. And Arundel's here, but the national organization says you should be here.
And how many minutes do parents get when they come to present before the Board of Education?
They get 3.
3.
And they get a red light when it's time to stop talking. So it's always a good idea to practice and time yourself before you come. Make sure you get to the point quickly so that you don't run out of time.
And does that time include any questions that board members might have of the parents that are testifying?
We typically don't ask questions when people are testifying, but if we do, we wait until their 3 minutes is up. Okay. And then we would ask our question.
All right. So tell me a little bit more about you and what you plan to accomplish in your tenure as president. When's your tenure up?
My tenure's up in 2017.
Okay.
I think I've already accomplished a major part of what will happen during my tenure, and that was the selection of the superintendent. That was a big job last year for all of us.
Oh, good.
And I think now my focus is more about recruiting. How do we recruit teachers to our county? How do we retain teachers in our county so that we can get the best and the brightest folks out of school and maybe steal some away from other counties?
So tell me what you like about the job.
I love that sort of 30,000-foot view, as I call it. Like you're able to see the whole workings of the school system and understand it from a different perspective than you do as a parent or an educator. Just being able to see what's going on, understand what's going on better, and being able to advocate for change. You can do that in PTA at your school level, but it's been really wonderful to be able to look at the county as a whole and to some degree the state, because we're involved with our Maryland Association of Boards of Education, and just being able to help kind of guide education in the direction that you think it should go.
So does the board also go to the Maryland General Assembly and talk to the governor and House and Senate about capital expenditures and the state requests for funding? Are you involved in that, or is that something that happens at the county level?
We are involved. We've already gone and spoken to our county council about our needs back in January. And we also had the begathon for the governor, that they call it, where you beg for money for the capital projects. All the school systems in the state go to that. And then a presentation before the delegation, just to kind of update them.
Anything at the top of your list?
I would just say the capital projects that are on the list. We need to keep moving, especially in Annapolis for our elementary schools. We have a lot of overcrowding, and we need to make sure that those projects stay on track. And Severna Park High School, got to make sure that's
Severna
finished.
Park High School, I was going to say.
Got to finish it.
And anything you would rather that the job didn't include, or that there's any things that you don't particularly like about doing it if somebody's thinking about trying to become a member of the board?
I really do love this job, but I have to say some of the really negative emails that come in are hard to take sometimes. You know,
Of a personal nature, more than...
Or just, the criticism that folks feel, I think, when they have the opportunity to send an email as opposed to talking to you in person. I think folks in general in today's society are a little more forthright and opinionated and critical than they might be if they had a chance to sit down and talk to you in person.
Terrific. Well, I'd like to thank you very much for stopping by and talking to us today and giving parents a little insight into what the life of a board member is like.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us this month on Parents Corner. I'm Mitchelle Stephenson.